Hello, Zetnus here. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Masters of RMS map pool, with 2 maps from 4 creators and finishing off with a contest winner. We have some amazing maps lined up for you, so let's get right to it.
So the first map I've created for this tournament is called Shoals, and it looks like this. It's 2 islands separated by a strip of shallow terrain. Like the map layout is fairly open, close to the TC, with standard resources, pretty much. Each player starts with or spawns with 4 golds on the island, and 2 stones, turkeys, and boars. That is pretty much standard res. Then you have these sort of shorefish in the shallow, and the 2 shoals, the group of fish. So we have one here and one there, and this is like the basic concept of the map, testing the fish distribution. So we have fish on the edges here, but it's pretty spread out. So ideally you want to have control at least one of these spots. Yeah, wood lines are pretty small, scattered around, can create some awkward positions around the map, and there is also like small points of elevation spread around. That is it. The other map is called Nexus and looks like this. So player starts opposing from each other with 2 close wood lines, and otherwise, if I recall correctly, standard res. Well, pretty much. In the middle they are connected by this piece of land, but otherwise it's shallow terrain with a bit of water as well. And we had 3 islands spawning, so 1 spawns with stone and 2 with gold, and these can spawn a bit differently depending on the generation. You could have 1 stone in this pond and 2 golds over here, or just like this, stone gold on one side and 1 gold on the other. So players have to scout to see which distribution there is and what pond to prioritize. You also have some fish here, so you will likely dock early to get some extra food income. The wood lines will suffice for like the early game, but later on you probably want to head out to the corners where the main wood axis is. You can't lock it down with the TC that easily though, because you have elevation plus you have this ring of rock terrain. A bit inspired by Land Madness, so it's enough to put a lumber camp, but not the TC. Yeah. So I guess it's Land Madness with Cup combined, I guess.
So Hank also made 2 maps for Masters of RMS. He wanted to make maps that were slightly interesting, but above all had a competitive spirit and wouldn't be too hard to figure out. He suspected that some of the other entries would involve a lot of water, so he decided to make 2 purely land-based maps. For each map, he wanted there to be 1 refreshing map-defining feature and wanted to limit any other changes so that the map would still feel somewhat familiar to standard maps. So the first one is Mud Pools, which is a map that might be compared to ravines. However, it's slightly more open and the elevation is a bit different. The middle of the map features a bog, which acts as an unbuildable but passable area. Some additional hunt and a few shorefish can be found there, but since the area is unbuildable, hunters and fishermen will have to walk quite some distance back to the closest mill. He doesn't think the middle area will significantly decide how the map plays out. More subtle, but arguably more important, is the distribution of elevation on this map. Here he chose to put the players in a depression. These mud pools are completely free of wood, so the closest forest might be a bit further than what you're used to from Arabia. The depression also means that defenders' advantage is removed. The TC is not in range of a mangonel firing downhill. However, the elevation penalty will be noticeable when the besieger sends reinforcements to the battlefront. The map has plenty of forest. 4 clumps of forest will always spawn surrounding the players, as long as the map is played on a 2 to 4 player size. There's plenty of wood to last until Imperial Age, although in a very long game, wood might be the first resource to run out, as additional gold and stone piles are rather abundant. This abundancy of resources, combined with the difficulty to defend the starting TC, might promote spreading out all over the map or going forward to gain map control. Lastly, the map shows some additional small hills which are highlighted on the minimap. Perhaps this will highlight how important map control is. The other map he made, coincidentally, looks very much like the winner of this contest, which we'll be seeing later in the video. Perhaps both were inspired by a video from Mike Hasselbach, aka the Mad Catter, where he showed a map script that generates a Gaia city in the center of the map. Building such a Gaia city is only recently possible due to some new features that were added in DE. It's very challenging to get objects, especially the bridges, to spawn in the correct orientation, but in the end, the result here looks pretty good. On this map called Crusade, the Gaia city in the middle just kind of sits there. There's little interaction, and controlling the area doesn't give many rewards. The monument might switch color, but doesn't trigger a countdown and doesn't trickle any resources. Those features are limited to King of the Hill. However, there are 4 relics surrounding the monument, which might make it worth to take control of this area. For anyone wondering, the Gaia buildings cannot be captured. Not even monks with redemption can convert them. However, military units can attack and destroy them if they are specifically ordered to do so. Outside the city, both players spawn with a total of 4 villagers spread around 2 corners of the map. They also have 2 camels to scout with, and will have control of 2 fortified towers. These towers have significant range and damage, but they will not benefit from upgrades researched later in the game. The outside region features hills with decently sized forests in all corners, a small oasis on each of the sides, and the remaining land is deserts. Gold and stone are particularly well spread out on the map, which gives a reason to expand as much as possible in the late game. When playing the map, the initial start proposes a dilemma. Put down the TC right away next to 2 villagers in the corner, or perhaps meet halfway and build the TC with 4 villagers. The oasis might be a good choice as it has additional boars, but the corners have good wood and some hunt as well. Due to the nomad start, the presence of towers, and the possibilities to wall water, a more defensive start, maybe into a fast castle, could be an option. With that, the real battles might begin in the mid to late game, when players contest the relics and the valuable wood and minerals that are spread around the map. Especially wood might become scarce in this semi-arid world. Alright, now let's take a look at Cruzini's 2 maps. First, we'll start with Langanati. I hope I pronounced that right. And you'll notice right off the bat that the center has a lot of fish and shorefish. However, you'll have to be careful because there are also some crocodiles lurking in the center. Later on, there will be 4 relics to fight for. The player start areas are placed on this unbuildable rock terrain, meaning that any farms will not be within the safety of the town center. You'll also notice that each player only starts with 2 small piles of gold. This will necessitate chopping through these wood lines here where the remaining gold lies trapped away. It'll be a race to see who can free their gold first. The outside of the map features a wood line all the way around, along with individual piles of stone and a relic in each corner. The remainder of the map features small rolling hills of elevation and a few straggler trees. Now let's take a look at Cruzini's second map, and that will be Rock Slide. Now, Rock Slide is sort of a hideout style map, but it does have a few key differences. First of all, players in their little hideout may start with food and forages and wood, but they don't have any gold or stone here. Furthermore, there's a ring of shallows all the way around the center, which will make it harder to wall to the edge of the map. Players can wall themselves in, but they're locking themselves away from all the gold in the map. You'll also notice that the only stone that's available is hidden in the corners, in the rock slides. This will necessitate chopping through the forest in order to reach any stone. The rest of the map features abundant wood. Alright, and now I get to talk about my own maps. So first of all, let's take a look at Eye. And you'll notice right away that the main feature of this map is that the mini-map looks like a giant eye. That's basically what I designed it for. Now, the main things to fight over are these two lakes, one in the north and one in the south. Each have a modest amount of fish, along with a few shore fish, and a relic on an island to reward those who manage to retain water control in Castle Age. The center of the map features most of the map's gold, along with a little bit closer to the players to fall back to in case the middle is too contested. This ring around the center is unbuildable rock terrain. You'll also notice a few wolves guarding the center. Players start with the standard Gold Rush style resources, a guaranteed woodline in the back, and further woodlines along the sides. Walling is possible, but contesting the remaining map, especially the lakes and later on the center, will be important. Alright, and my other map is called Random River. And basically, for this map, I had a couple other ideas that I all discarded because I wasn't happy with them. So eventually I went for something where the main goal was just for it to be somewhat more random than most maps that we generally see in tournaments these days. There's been a trend towards a lot of maps having relatively fixed positions, very symmetric layouts, and Random River tries to be reasonably fair while having a very randomly shaped river. So the main feature, the defining feature, is in fact this river, which can be positioned in such a way that it can be ignorable. It might be completely separating players, though. You'll just have to scout to figure it out. Now, the river has numerous crossings. It has a very small amount of fish, along with a few shore fish. So losing water control is not necessarily problematic, and even going for fish is not really necessary. The rest of the map features standard resources, along with a few extra neutral piles of gold and stone to encourage expansion in the late game. You'll also notice numerous hills, which are clearly marked by a different colored terrain on the minimap. Each biome variation will have a different color for the hills and for the main land terrain.
Hello guys, and welcome to the map overview of City Ruins. Players start Nomad style with a small encampment in the city outskirts. Luckily, reclaimed buildings such as farmland, mining and lumber camps can be found nearby. Unclaimed farming and mining areas can also be found around the city. Players will have to be careful though, because these resources are spread out thin. A road will lead players through the city's moat to the center, which contains multiple small fish trap lakes, as well as multiple stone and gold mines. Last but not least, a hill holding the map's 5 relics can also be found there. The only buildings players can convert are farms and fish traps. Any other building can be seen as an obstacle ready for demolition. The gates closest to each player and the relic hill are always visible. There are no wolves, but a small handful of weak bandits have made camp in the city center.
Alright, and that covers all the maps in the map pool. You'll be able to find these maps as an official mod, which should already be up at time of recording. Now, if you liked what you saw, I encourage you to sign up and participate in the tournament, or you could donate to the prize pool, or you could just tune into the streams. Also, if you're interested to see the other 17 amazing submissions that we had for the contest, tune into my stream later, where I'll be taking a detailed look at all of them. Thank you for stopping by.